Let me tell you, Barack Hussein Obama was a lousy president. A lot of bad things happened. Remember when they used to talk about Trump with the jail cells? Well, he built the jail cells for the children. He built those jail cells. Remember that came out? But, sir, they were built in 2014. You remember when that came out? After me going through that stuff for about 2 weeks, and then they found out it was Barack Obama that built those jail cells.
The most insidious was providing intelligence to the Mexican law enforcement that led to the arrest of a CJNG cartel-affiliated baby trafficker called La Diabla.
Well, I don't think we're going to necessarily ask for a declaration of war. I think we're just going to kill people that are bringing drugs into our country. Okay? We're going to kill them. You know, they're going to be like dead. Okay?
Well, the number of comms coming our way pointing a picture for the public to see what these past administrations have done to our country. Well, it's hard to believe, and many are still not ready for it. We will see these drops from Scavino today throughout this video and others, and we're going to go through the pain points in this battle against the deep state evil tyrants, those that are in front of us, those behind us. But I tell you what, they're being highlighted now more than ever. And we're looking forward to watching it play out. You know, the followers on Rumble are 499,000. We're almost at 500,000, folks. We'd love for you to hit that follow button and the like button below this video. It would really help us out. And we thank you for helping us, follow us, and grabbing our gear at mwknow.com. Also, really appreciate that.
I think the Democrats have gone totally crazy. And you don't know what they're going to do because they don't care about the people. They don't. I really think they have no leadership. They have a lot of very low IQ people. Jasmine Crockett is a low IQ person. A lot of them are. I don't want to insult too many of them, but a lot of them are. They have no rudder. I don't think they know what they're doing right now. You know, they've never done this before. They always agreed to go and, you know, called an extension. Let's do an extension and talk. Even today, look at what happened today. They wouldn't even. They don't want to pay the people that have worked, and, you know, this was supposed to be this was a test, and they wouldn't pay the people that have been working. They said, no, we don't want to pay them. This is all the Democrats. Now, all we need is 5 Democrats, and I know a lot of Democrats that are saying they're more than 5, probably not that many more than 5, but they're more than 5, and all we need is like 5 Democrat votes, and we open our country again. Sad, though. We have the greatest economy in our history. We have the highest stock market. All these things are rocking. We will have by the end of my first year more than $20 trillion of investment. The all-time record is $3 trillion. I think it's China. We're going to have $20 or $21 trillion. We've never had anything like it coming in because of tariffs. The money pouring into our country, the plants that are opening, AI, automobiles, everything. And the Democrats want to close our country. They're really, you know, they say deranged. They suffer. I guess it's Trump deranged syndrome, which I think is going down now as an official condition by the doctors. I think they get paid extra money if they handle it because it's more difficult to handle than a normal mental disease. But you know what? They really should approve an extension, get the country back to work, get the people paid. And, you know, it's very simple. You just don't know what's going on. There's something wrong with them. Yeah, it's sad, actually.
Something wrong with the Democrats. Kind of interesting because we saw this interview pop up. Do you remember this Democrat Representative LaMonica McIver says that she has sleepless nights because she's going to spend possibly 17 years, 17, behind bars.
Again, we're watching what they say, what they are charging, and what they say you could face 17 years in prison for or go forward and to be convicted. Is there any part of your brain that's scared of that, or are you 100% convinced that if you get an opportunity in court with a jury of your peers that you will be acquitted?
Well, one, I'm 100%, I believe 100% the facts are on my side. That's number one. I'm happy.
Even though she beat up federal agents, yeah.
Faith in my legal team, faith in the judiciary system. However, it is very stressful, Chris. I am a mom. I'm a wife. I have family, and I have never been in trouble with the law ever. And so to hear, this prosecution saying that I can get 17 years in jail for showing up to do my job, for protecting the people that I represent, who have elected me to protect them, it is definitely stressful. Some nights.
Protect illegals who elected you. Wow. Just tell everybody, tell the world what you're doing. Man. Senate Democrats, of course, again, voted to withhold pay from the troops and essential workers who are being forced to work through the Democrat shutdown.
I'll just point out the irony in Democrats holding the government and the American public hostage over a healthcare system that they created. The healthcare system was called Obamacare. Why? Because Democrats and President Obama implemented. And Republicans have always said it's a broken system, yes, but they caused it, and now they want to shut down the government to fix it. We need to open the government, and then we can have these very important conversations about healthcare.
So there's Obama brought up number one. Let's see if we can keep the count on how many times this happened. Makes you wonder what we're heading into when they talk about Obama. Very, very interesting.
Let me tell you, Barack Hussein Obama was a lousy president. A lot of bad things happened.
So this came up yesterday. Talking about Barack Hussein Obama. He's been coming up a lot lately.
Remember when they used to talk about Trump with the jail cells? Well, he built the jail cells for the children. He built those jail cells. Remember that came out? But, sir, they were built in 2014. You remember when that came out? After me going through that stuff for about 2 weeks, and then they found out it was Barack Obama that built those jail cells. No, these people they were bad leaders. I hope we don't have it again. I hope we don't have it again. Because, our country's come back a long way, but it can only withstand so much, and we don't want to ever go through that again. We never want to have open borders again. We don't want to have men playing in women's sports. We don't want to have transgender for everybody. We don't want that. We want to have a great country with low interest rates, nice housing, great education, a strong military. The basics. Yes, please.
Isn't that amazing? He brings up Obama, and he talks about jail cells, and he also talks about transgenders. It's almost like he has it all written down just right to help folks in their psyche get ready for the exposure. And so, kind of connected to all of this, Nothing to See Here posted this great catch, wondering why they love Nessun Dorma so much. He put out a thread to explain the sum of all fears ending, that movie. It's referred to multiple times in Q's intelligence drops. When the song plays in the movie, deep state plotters are taken out. So in the movie, where did the material come from? In 1973, during the Yom Kippur War, an Israeli warplane carrying a nuclear bomb is shot down. In 2002, Ghazi and Syrian scrap collector recovers the from a field in the Golan Heights. In the movie, there is a neo-Nazi group that wants to take over the world by causing a war between Russia and the U.S. An investigation leads to the White Hats to an old Soviet facility in Ukraine, where they're making a nuclear bomb. That the time they get there, it's actually en route to Baltimore, where there's a football game that the president's attending. Of course, you know what happens to the stadium. The main character ends up finding that the bomb was actually manufactured in the U.S. and warns the president, who calls off the strike. and they find the group responsible. So interesting, because we have these ties in the drops to Sum of All Fears, 1306, define the terms of the Iran nuclear deal. Oh, deals. Just like the movie. Does the agreement define and confine cease and desist? Pro to the Republic of Iran. Wow. Look at this. What if Iran created a classified satellite nuclear facility in northern Syria? Like the movie. Did the U.S. know? Where did the cash payments go? Oh. How many planes delivered that cash payment? Remember from Obama. Did all the planes land in the same location? Where did the uranium-1 material end up? Oh, they used that uranium-1. Just like the movie. Is this material traceable? Yes. Define cover. What if uranium-1 material ended up in Syria? What would be the primary purpose? Sum of all fears. Look at the movie. And you know, it makes me think of when we talk about the movies, remember how they joined together Hollywood and the C_A to create all of these, I don't know, the future events. And they put them together in such a way so that someday when it all happens, you're like, yeah, I saw that in a movie. In the movie, where did the material come from? What country? What would happen if Russia or another foreign state supplied uranium to Iran and Syria? War. Define cover. Why did we strike Syria? Why did we really strike Syria? Patriots in control. Well, going a step further, remember the sum of all fears comes up in the Nazi order picture. New NWO, N does not refer to new. It's probably the Nazi world order, the sum of all fears. North Korea, POTUS, hostage, threat, disarm, stage set, freedom. And we're also told, Nessun Dorma remembers, none shall sleep, not even you, O princess, in your cold bedroom, watching the stars that tremble with love and with hope. So again, we're told in 1258, uranium-1, then it goes all the way to Iran, North Korea. Where did it end up? What was the purpose? Who was supposed to win the election of 2016? We know, of course, HRC. Why was the Iran deal kept from Congress and placed at the highest level of classification? Meaning, a United States senator could not review the deal, but other foreign powers could. Wow. That's pretty dangerous. We're going to set something up so that none of the senators can see what's going on. But you know what? We're going to call our buddies in these other countries and make sure they get it. How much money was hand-delivered by planes? Why in cash? Where did the plans land? Who paid B.O., Barack Obama, to attend Harvard? Why would this occur pre-political days? Who was the biggest contributor to the Clinton Foundation? The graphics, the key. Who controls the mainstream media, and what does the word conspiracy mean to you? Has the word conspiracy been branded to mean something shameful in today's society? The world can't handle the truth. The pill cannot be swallowed by most. Risk in painting this picture, the sum of all fears. An added bonus to all this, Lashford showed that video, sum of all fears, the time that it was dropped was actually 1:14. That would be 11.4, just like we see the number 34 drop. Right? On POTUS's order, we have initiated certain fall safes that shall safeguard the public from the primary fallout, which is slated to occur 11.3 upon the arrest announcement of Mr. Podesta, actionable 11.4. Confirmation to the public of what is occurring will then be revealed.
Prior to December 2021, my husband Larry was a healthy, active man with no health concerns or underlying conditions. He was a college lecturer and successful musician, but that was all taken away from him on the 15th of December 2021. That was the day he received a COVID Pfizer booster injection in Oma Leisure Centre.
Well, that heartbreaking story from Larry Lowe's wife. She's talking because it's too hard for him to speak. Just because she didn't react immediately to the COVID jab, it doesn't mean you are in the clear. Mysterious symptoms and even deaths are surfacing months, sometimes years later. So you look at this, the VAERS reports show way more COVID vaccine injuries than something as common as Tylenol. And get this, experts estimate only 1% of cases are even reported. Plus, shedding means you could be exposed even if you skip the shot. Now, mRNA vaccines could be in our livestock, even organic. Why are mRNA vaccines different? It's the spike proteins. These proteins meant to train your immune system can interact with blood vessels and platelets, potentially causing clotting or inflammation. Overwhelming evidence shows millions are affected. So what's the solution? It starts with your gut. A healthy gut microbiome is the number one factor in fixing damage from vaccines, antibiotics, and the standard American diet. And the best way to boost gut diversity is kimchi. Studies, like one from the National Institute of Health, show kimchi's incredible power to restore gut health. But let's be real, eating kimchi daily isn't easy. That's where Bright Course Kimchi 1 comes in. Delivers 900 probiotic strains, live enzymes, and antioxidants in one convenient capsule. No mess, no taste. It supports digestion, energy, metabolism, immunity, and more. The And We Know listeners can get 25% off Kimchi 1 with code AUK at mybrightcore.com/AUK or call 888-317-9941 for up to 50% off plus free shipping today.
Mr. President, if you are declaring war against these cartels and Congress is likely to approve of that process, why not just ask for a declaration of war?
Well, I don't think we're going to necessarily ask for a declaration of war. I think we're just going to kill people that are bringing drugs into our country. Okay? We're going to kill them. You know, they're going to be like dead. Okay? Yeah.
Strong words. And he's not letting the reporter take advantage of him in this one. They're trying. Oh, don't you think, you shouldn't be taking out these guys, these poor human beings that are killing hundreds of thousands of Americans. It's a couple of them in a boat. These guys, don't you think they have some kind of a right to survive in some capacity? I mean, it just seems like it'd be the right thing to do. Come on now, President Trump. Don't you hear me? We've been sitting around the table and the mainstream media reporters, and we're just sickened when you send us these video clips of boats getting blown up out of the sky, and that could be somebody's family member. My goodness, who cares about the hundreds of thousands of Americans that are dying from the drugs they're bringing in? We should feel sorry for them. Poor things. The stupidity of the mainstream media. I want to hear this one more time from Trump.
Well, I don't think we're going to necessarily ask for a declaration of war. I think we're just going to kill people that are bringing drugs into our country. Okay? We're going to kill them. They're going to be like dead. Okay?
That's the way you handle these sick people. 3,000 foreign terrorists and cartel members arrested. 152,119 pounds of narcotics seized. 17,000 pounds of meth, 128,000 pounds of cocaine, 1,000 pounds of heroin, more than 5,000 pounds of fentanyl powder, more than 2 million fentanyl pills seized. And imagine if the other side had stepped into the White House in 2016. Imagine what this country would look like today, almost 10 years later, had none of this been stopped, but actually increased to the point where they would have destroyed our country from within, put us in wars, and had our children and our grandchildren shipped overseas to different countries to participate in their wars so the military-industrial complex continued to grow. Imagine how bad it would be. In the meantime, as we're trying to clean house, the Attorney General, Letitia James, has created a new online system for people to submit photos and videos of ICE agents and raids. Former Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot, Beetlejuice, says she plans to help identify ICE agents. We've been showing you in videos where they've been declaring basically war against ICE agents. Why would they do such a thing, and how do they get by with this?
3 federal officers have been heard after a driver who ICE claims is in the country illegally allegedly rammed one of their cars. It happened yesterday in San Diego. According to the ICE San Diego field office, he was wanted in his home country of Kuwait and has a violent criminal history. The officers and the man were treated at a local hospital. ICE says it will be pursuing criminal charges.
Yeah. They're getting hurt. They're going after him. And it's pretty sickening to me. President Trump said the federal government was preparing to surge San Francisco, California on Saturday, but friends of mine who live in the area called last night to ask me not to go forward with the surge, and that the mayor, Daniel Lurie, was making substantial progress. I spoke to Mayor Lurie last night, and he asked very nicely that I give him a chance to see if he can turn it around. I told him I think he is making a mistake because we can do it much faster and remove the criminals that the law does not permit him to remove. I told him it's an easier process if we do it faster, stronger, and safer, but let's see how you do. The people of San Francisco have come together on fighting crime, especially since we began to take charge of that very nasty subject. Great people like Jensen Huang, Mark Benioff, and others have called, saying that the future of San Francisco is great. They want to give it a shot. He put shot in quotation marks. Therefore, we will not surge San Francisco on Saturday. Stay tuned. Ooh.
This is actively putting the lives of our ICE agents at risk. We've seen media outlets, in fact, in this room, also write stories about ICE tracker apps that Democrats and other left-wing activists have created to track the location of ICE agents on the ground in our communities. Again, I've said this repeatedly, and I will continue to say it. The men and women of ICE are outstanding people. I wish a Democrat on Capitol Hill would actually have the courage or the guts to stand up to their party and sit down with some of these men and women who are doing this incredibly difficult job of enforcing our federal immigration laws. They are, again, simply trying to enforce the law and do their jobs. And if Democrats spent a little bit more time understanding that and also focusing on the people who they are trying to get out of our country every single day. As I spoke about earlier, 3 innocent people in California are dead because an illegal alien who Democrats let into this country was wrongfully issued a trucker's driving license and clearly was not fit for the job because he was driving intoxicated and killed 3 innocent people. Democrats should focus a little bit more on that. Stop trying to fight this president and this administration on every turn and restore law and order. That's all that we and these brave men and women of ICE are trying to do.
It's all they're trying to do. You know, Dan Scavino dropped Phil Collins. I can see it coming in the air tonight. Hold on. Waking Outlaw, similar to repeatedly posting nods to Nessun Dorma, None Shall Sleep, videos, Scavino does the same thing with In the Air Tonight. If you don't believe that he's letting us know that important operational work continues in the background, then you might want to work on your pattern recognition skills. Yeah. Pretty important information, folks, when we're looking at all of this. And I know we talk about it all the time. The reminder that we are involved in an operation to remove these key players, not only remove them, but wake up the people to what type of corruption was happening, not just now, not with just actors, not with just a movie playing out, but to ensure that everyone, just about everyone, 95%, know exactly who the perpetrators are, what type of evil they've committed, and why they do it. And we're waking up to all this. And so when we look into the playings out of all of these deep state actors, we need the comms to help us steady the ship. Dan Scavino posted a guy who was actually throwing a dart at a dartboard. A GIF. A couple of things that are in this. One of them is key domestic contacts for Phase 1 Target projects. Target. Harris, California. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer. Amy Klobuchar. Dianne Feinstein, California. Kirsten Gillibrand from New York. Andrew Cuomo, New York. Bill de Blasio, New York. Former Virginia Governor Terry McAuliffe, among others, Pandora's political elite box. Target projects. Then you head over to the timestamp. 11:50, we have it all, says 11:50, 23:50 military time. 23:50, was it found prior or discovered prior to the hunt? Red October. Interesting, because we look at this drop matching the timestamp, and you notice we have that missile again that was fired, and we know it was fired at Air Force One back when President Trump had his first term. It was an unauthorized missile fired, and we were told about it, but the mainstream media didn't want to talk about it. They said it was just some kind of lightning strike or light in the sky. Remember, we showed you the local news. They're all in cahoots. Unauthorized emergency incoming missile threat. Activated Hawaii. POTUS Air Force One. POTUS reroutes. Coincidence? No mainstream media investigations? Nope, not at all. Biggest threat to the American people. And then you head down and you see this. Russia, Russia, Russia. Think UK, Australia, Russia, Russia, Russia. Deflect, declass, deflect and blame. The hunt for was dropped. Why? Was it found, discovered prior to the hunt? Red October. No reason to hunt for it if they already got it. And then you look at the board, the dartboard, and what do you see? You see round 2. First round, second round. Wow. If you head on over to Breitbart, they put out this news pushed out by President Trump. Trump's DHS issues nearly $10 billion in fines to illegal aliens so they self-deport from the U.S. President Trump's Department of Homeland Security is using several tools to pressure illegal aliens to self-deport. They exclusively revealed that the agency has issued more than 31,600 fine notices to illegal aliens, totaling more than $9.6 billion. Our message is clear. If you're in the country illegally, leave now or face the consequences. From Tricia McLaughlin, DHS. President Trump was in on some of this action the other day, thinking about timing. Loretta Lynch, remember, met with the Clintons on the tarmac. She was supposed to be, part of the plan. I don't know. President Trump's been talking a lot lately.
Speaking of Democrats, there's a report that there's a grand jury on Adam Schiff for apparent mortgage fraud. If he is indicted, should he step down as a U.S. Senator?
Well, I'm not going to comment on that. I would just say Adam Schiff is one of the lowest forms of scum I've ever dealt with in politics. He's a horrible human being, very dishonest person. I have no idea what's going on. You tell me that he's going to be indicted. I don't know. You could ask Pam. I don't know if she could say it. Probably you are allowed to say it, but I wouldn't know about that. I can only tell you he's a very bad. I think he's actually a sick person. Do you want to talk about that?
We're not going to comment on any grand jury that's open. We can't legally.
I don't know.
Interesting. Just somebody we haven't been talked about in a while, and just brings up Adam Schiff out of the blue. While all these comms have been playing out. Think timing. Loretta Lynch, Attorney General, RGB steps down, HRC appoints new Adam Schiff replacement. All connected to the dartboard. All connected to things that we weren't even paying attention to. And again, we have to be reminded over and over again. I just find it interesting this reporter just thought of the question out of the blue. Right? Just thought of it out of the blue. Mainstream media seems to be getting into this a little bit more, and they realize maybe this sells. Let's put President Trump on the front of Time magazine, Trump's World, we're going to call it. The Gaza deal, the fight for Taiwan, Putin's power play. Very interesting. Very, very interesting. Well, let me ask you something. How much time do you spend every day on a web browser? How much time do you spend clicking around online, searching, scrolling, typing, endless tabs? It's a lot, right? Well, there's a new AI web browser from Perplexity called Comet that is completely changing the way you are able to interact with your browser. Using Comet feels like having a personal assistant living in your web browser that can actually do things for you across the internet. Yes, do things, not just give you answers. You can ask Comet to handle tasks for you, and it literally clicks, types, searches, and scrolls just like you would to get things done for you in the background while you go about your day. So Comet can shop for you, make reservations, book travel, summarize articles or videos, send emails, schedule meetings, and a lot more to make your life easier. Let me show you how it works. So I was on there and I asked a question. Now, give me a flight from Dallas, Texas to Atlanta on November the 10th. And right away, it started doing research and it gave me all the different options that I could use to actually book a flight with them. Absolutely amazing. Another thing I do is I'll ask it to help me find a pet store in Atlanta. Watch this. This is pretty cool. And so what it does is it helps me find all the local areas throughout social media, throughout different web browsers, and more, so I don't have to go clicking around all the different areas. It actually found it for me. That is pretty amazing. So you can go in the description box below and download Perplexity's new AI web browser Comet by heading to pplx.ai/LT and let your browser work for you. Plus, right now, when you download Comet, you get a month of Rumble Premium for free.
The most insidious was providing intelligence to the Mexican law enforcement that led to the arrest of a CJNG cartel-affiliated baby trafficker called La Diabla. Her whole money-making operation was centered around luring pregnant women, performing illegal C-sections, harvesting organs, and selling newborn babies. Mr. President, it's your leadership that has made all of this possible. I can tell you, in the midst of this government shutdown, our folks, like everyone around this table, are working 24/7 without pay and eager to get after this because they believe in your leadership and the mission that you have presented to them. Thank you, Mr. President. I'll hand this off to
Saving the children. Saving the children. And you hear about trafficking, baby trafficking ring, pregnant women. Breaks your heart to realize what's going on. They bring the women in, the babies are sold, and it's all done by the Democrats. You know, when we look at more of these comms that play out in front of us, Scotty Marr does a good job of compiling things that happened yesterday. Some of these I actually missed. And I appreciate the efforts that he puts into this. So I'm going to show you the intro to this. I can't play it for the music, but I'm going to show you and read it.
Question for Secretary Hegseth. Sir, a memo circulating on social media details the establishment of a National Guard response force that's going to be trained in crowd control and civil unrest and deployed in all 50 states by April of 2026. Can you verify the authenticity of that memo, and do you have any more information on the operations?
I'm not going to answer particulars on something that may be in the planning process, but we definitely do have multiple layers of National Guard response forces, whether it's in each state, whether it's regionally, whether it's Title 10 active duty, whether it's Washington, D.C. We've got a lot of different ways that constitutionally and legally we can employ Title 10 and Title 32 forces, and we will do so when necessary.
We will do so when necessary. There is training. We'll do so when we're ready. Of course, we brought up the Scavino drop with, we can feel it coming in the air tonight. It was dropped at 1:05, which means, please pray. Operators are in harm's way. High risk, high value targets. Chatter, trains, buses, be vigilant. It's confirmed. President Trump, of course, assigned Kash Patel to help dismantle All types of criminals. Well, there's 30 plus arrests, 11 states, 1 nationwide takedown. For what? The FBI dismantled a multi-million-dollar gambling ring tied to La Cosa Nostra, including current and former NBA players, that's basketball, and coaches, as well as inside scheme to rig sports betting outcomes for profit. Cheating, corruption, and laundering have consequences. We followed the money, and the law caught up. And so that's the NBA legend Chauncey Billups Heats Terry Rozier, arrested as part of an FBI gambling probe. I'll pause here for a second. And I have many friends out there who watch sports. I've shown videos to some of them where they prove on YouTube and some other channels that without a shadow of a doubt that these football games, basketball games are rigged. These guys are paid an awful lot of money, and they're given hand signals and told what to do so that the betting goes the direction that they need it to go so folks can win tons of money. And then if the players are involved, they'll place bets and, against the other team to win, and they'll throw the game. But a lot of folks don't like hearing that because they worship those sporting events. And they can't get away from it. The addiction is huge. Moving forward, of course, we showed you the dartboard. Sir Oliver Pollock caught this on that. Military intelligence versus the FBI, CIA, and NSA. No approval or congressional oversight. State secrets under the Supreme Court. I believe that's Supreme Court. Who is the commander and chief of the military? Under what circle or article can the president impose military intelligence takeover investigations for the 3-letter agencies? Future news will highlight, note the hunt for was dropped, and we talked about this. So it begins, how do you start a war? Markers matter, playbook fail. They had a playbook. They were going to start a war. They were going to do it like the sum of all fears. I believe that without a shadow of a doubt because they put a movie out to tell us how they were going to do it. Sum of all fears was played for all to see. And then what do we see this from the inside paper? Russia holds scheduled nuclear drills week after NATO. Wow. Catherine Herridge, new approval came from the top. Biden administration, Attorney General Garland, his deputy Lisa Monaco, and then Director Christopher Wray physically signed off on FBI probe codenamed Arctic Frost. The records came from Chuck Grassley, showed the authorization based on, quote, limited detail and basis, including open source media reporting. It's all same stuff that you heard from the Steele dossier. Remember the one that Hillary Clinton paid for, and she paid a bunch of money to Steele, and he put this dossier together to make it look like Trump colluded with Russia. Remember, they had to go to the FISA courts to get permission to basically go in and spy on Trump because they said that he's working with foreign agents. So we got to get this foreign court system in there so we can go in there and tap President Trump, the future president, and listen in on his phone calls and everything that he's doing. Then the probe collected phone records from the GOP lawmakers, including time, place, and length of call. Phone metadata can be more revealing than the contents of the phone call obtained by wiretaps. Arctic Frost laid the foundation for Jack Smith electors probe. And then we found out the U.S. government shutdown is projected to last until November 15th, making it the longest shutdown in history. And the White House released this picture. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, and that's President Trump in the arena. And then we were told from James Woods with a video that I can't play right now, nothing more need to be said. The storm is coming. There's Stephen Miller, and it's called Miller Time, and he is always on fire talking about these radicals and what they've been doing to our country. Now, I want to take you to this NBA stuff real quick. Okay? Very interesting that Dan Bongino posted, Operation Summer Heat resulted in over 28,000 violent criminal arrests. Operation Restoring Justice resulted in the apprehension of hundreds of child predators. In addition to this critical work, the FBI remains intently focused on combating organized crime. So he just talked about both at the same time. It's weird that he linked them together. Anyway, just the way I look at it, I think it's weird that he put them together unless there's some type of link involved. I'm going to play, without the sound, the NBA, and you're looking at, I believe, Terry Rozier. Watch what he does, folks, when you're talking about rigging. First, he falls and drops the ball and hands it right to the other player. Then he's here, and watch what he does. He passes it straight to the other player so this guy can take a three-pointer and make the shot. You see that? And then he twists and turns, and he hands it off to the other player again, and then he keeps throwing the ball away in different ways. Then he throws the ball in the air, misses by folks, even kids can hit the rim better than that in basketball. And he's missing over and over and over again. These all compiled by folks that saw it, understood how they rigged these, because these players should be making these types of shots. Why is he missing so many times? There it is again, just throwing bricks. And some would say, no, he's not just rigging them. He's literally missing them on purpose. He's passing to the other players on purpose, and he's been caught. So I just want to make sure you guys knew about that. Now, let's talk about Pritzker real quick and his lies.
They're doing everything by the book.
Why does Chicago have the highest murder rate of all the big cities?
Well, we are not in the top 30 in terms of our murder rate. Indeed,
well,
our murder rate it has been cut in half over the last 4 years, and every year it's gone down by double digits. And if you look at all of the violent crime over the last 4 years,
here's a map.
They've all gone down.
U.S. cities, 17.47 per 100,000 population. Chicago is number one over Philadelphia, Houston, Dallas, San Antonio, Phoenix, Los Angeles, New York, and San Diego.
What I'm explaining to you is
you're
when
talking
you want to
about
fight
violent
crime. Look, you can pull statistics up.
No,
I can
these are
too.
murders.
I'm explaining to you that our murder rate has been cut in half. And very importantly, Brett, and you got to hear this, very importantly, we've been doing the things that are necessary to bring crime down, right? We've invested in community violence interruption. We've invested in police.
Yeah. So I don't trust Fox News guys, Brett Baier. And when they play these things, they're giving Pritzker an opportunity to say, look, come on, listen to me now. So then folks say, he's actually not that bad of a guy. They did cut it in half, didn't they? That's what Pritzker said. And folks that are diehard conservatives who can't stand Pritzker will say, there you go. See, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. I just don't think the guy should be given a platform at all. And then to get these gotcha questions thrown at him like, he's been handed, finally we're holding him accountable. I just don't look at it like that. Speaking of accountability, heading over to the UK. Senior police officers admit their biggest fear in Muslims is kicking off. Now, I'm going to play for you a couple of these things, but I'm going to play this real quick, and I'll show you something from Lisa May. It was quite astounding from Dan Scavino as he posted a video clip at 9:27 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. She caught it. I didn't see anybody else that caught it, and it's brilliant. And I'm going to show you a video clip that she connected to this drop that has a lot to do with what is heading into our country. And I'm trying to warn folks. And what can we do about it? Pray. But listen to this, okay, as they've been invaded.
We are in the middle of an epidemic of moral cowardice, I'm afraid, in our country. We are appeasing some of the worst people because the police are afraid. And I have senior contacts in the police who tell me that their biggest fear is Muslims kicking off. So that mustn't be allowed to happen. And then the other fear is that a lot of us now have started refusing to go along with the multiculturalism has worked out absolutely brilliantly. And they are now afraid of people pointing that out. But this is absolutely outrageous. And we've got this guy, Ayub Khan, an independent member of parliament who has celebrated this Israeli team not being allowed to come to Aston Villa. And he has basically delivered a load of propaganda and misinformation. He said that this particular team was involved in scuffles in Amsterdam, in attacks. The actual fact of what happened in Amsterdam, which is documented by a court, is hundreds of Muslims in Amsterdam ambushed and set out on what was called a Jew hunt, all right? And this was not just football fans. This was any Jew they could find. They threw them into canals. They jumped out of canals. There was immense violence. So what we're seeing, as I said, is the police are appeasing these people. We've got an Islamic preacher, Astar Rashid. When the Tel Aviv team, if they come to Birmingham, we will not show them mercy. That is incitement, right? Yeah. You have any other member of any other community saying that, and that they would be done for incitement, but it's all, let's consult with community leaders. Let's do a community impact assessment. We don't want the police to do a community impact assessment for one protected characteristic. This is the United Kingdom. The police are supposed to be policing for every single one of us.
Now, not only do they have that problem with the police living in fear, if something happens and they'll force Keir Starmer to come in and pay him £10 million to the Muslim community.
I'm so sorry that we're meeting in these circumstances because that was a horrific attack that will have impacted.
A car seat was set on fire outside the Peace Haven Mosque. Did he give millions to the other communities after the Southport atrocity?
Impacted every single member of the community. We've just been talking to some of the family members and getting a sense firsthand of the personal impact. I'm really pleased today that we are announcing a further £10 million to support our mosques on top.
Oh, wow. So if these guys go in, I don't know, say this guy right here, I don't know, some others, they say, you know what? Wow, we just got £10 million. Well, what did it take? Oh, it was a car seat that was set on fire. Oh, dude, I got an idea. And what do? They go on their own and they can just go set their own car seat on fire and say that somebody else on the outside caused hate, and they continue to collect money. I'm just saying, all right? Now, this video I'm about to show you, drop 9:27, because Dan Scavino dropped a video that was 1 minute and 31 seconds long at 9:27 p.m. The video linked in 927, the drop 927 on the cue board, is Admiral Ace Lyons speaking at a private meeting held in Washington, D.C., February 11th, 2015. Those that asked him to speak probably regret doing so, said Lisa May. Retired U.S. Admiral James Ace Lyons exposed the corruption within our government, spoke about Islam, terrorism, exposed Secretary of Defense and POTUS's Obama's real agenda and whom he really supports. Again, there's Obama with a connection on the board again coming out from Dan Scavino. Something we'll never see on the mainstream media, folks. The reason we watch other channels like ours and many that cover these drops and the hidden meanings behind it and how they're trying to communicate with us, that's how they reach us. Here we go.
Have Admiral James Lyons with us. Sir, welcome.
Well, thank you, Frank. Sorry I missed the earlier presentations due to my 3-hour and 20-minute commute this morning. But, as a number of you heard me say before, we've had many opportunities to change the course of history. And it hasn't mattered whether it's been a Republican or Democratic administration. We failed every one of them. Starting with Carter, with the takeover of our embassy. We could have cut off Khomeini and his Islamic fundamentalism at the knees. We were going to take Karg Island, and he rejected it. We could have walked in. The next time was the Marine barracks bombing. And you all probably wonder why we never responded. I won't go into the long detail, but the guy that sabotaged the strike, and I'm glad you're all sitting down, was the Secretary of Defense. Not once, but twice. Reagan approved the French wanted to do a combined strike, and Reagan approved it, and Weinberger wouldn't issue the order. I have personally talked to George Shultz and Bud McFarlane. They told me they pleaded with him, and he wouldn't do it. You have to say, who the hell got to him, or what got to him? I've never been able to get an answer on that. In the Gulf Tanker War in '87, we were going to bring down the Khomeini regime, and the guy that sabotaged, I had briefed Weinberger at my headquarters at Pearl Harbor that summer. This was going to be in August of '87. And the one who undercut us the most was our own chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Crow, at the time. If you go forward and you look at, we shot down by accident that Iranian civilian airliner a few months later. And what did Khomeini do? He said, I'm drinking from the chalice of poison. And he said, I have to make a truce with Saddam Hussein because the Americans have shown they're coming in on Iraq's side. Well, think of what the hell we could have done had we executed the strike we wanted to do in August of '87. We all say we have to identify the threat. Well, I think the one who identified it the best was Erdogan from Turkey, when he said, Islam is Islam. There are no modifiers. Democracy is the train we ride to our ultimate objective. He couldn't have said it any plainer. And until you recognize that Islam is a political movement masquerading as a religion, you're never going to come to grips with it. And as far as a strategy, let me just conclude one thing. And as I just had in my latest op-ed, the Obama administration has a strategy. It's very simple. Any thinking American should be able to grasp it. It's anti-American, anti-Western, it's pro-Islamic, it's pro-Iranian, and pro-Muslim Brotherhood. And with that, I'll yield the mic.
Thank you, sir.
Very interesting in light of what we just noticed the other day, where this guy, the Honorable Amir Ghalib of Michigan, says, well, listen.
In August of 2020, you posted that the Muslim Brotherhood was an inspiration. Do you continue to believe the Muslim Brotherhood is an inspiration?
Thank you, Senator. I think a lot of my posts were written in Arabic and mistranslated. I believe that, it's an ideology. It's not just a group of people. I disagree with a lot of things that they do. Some of them are extremists. Some of them are part of some governments in the Middle East. So I trust our government to do the research and
Okay, again, my question was simple and straightforward. Do you continue to believe the Muslim Brotherhood is an inspiration?
No, I'm not part of it. I don't believe in that. But if anybody
but you did post it in 2020. Let me ask you, how would you be able to serve as an ambassador if President Trump designates the Muslim Brotherhood as a terrorist organization? I have legislation to do that. I believe it is likely the Trump administration will designate the Muslim Brotherhood as a terrorist organization. Hamas is the Muslim Brotherhood in Palestine.
I would trust the president, and if it's designated, I will be committed to implement President Trump's policies. I'm not.
So this would be the ambassador, right? He's from Michigan. Of the United States of America to the state of Kuwait. So head back over, and you get the calls on the UK side because they're dealing with this en masse.
We are in a time, Samara, of moral cowardice where both our government and governmental bodies are concerned
rather than call out the migrants for their behavioural standards, or indeed the Pakistani Muslim men for theirs, they'd rather call us racist, Islamophobic, or far right. They're terrified of causing offence or alienating themselves from their own so important Muslim vote that they are so afraid of any kind of Muslim uprising. There's no community cohesion with these people, Samara. And our women and children shouldn't have to run the gauntlet every time they leave the house. The Labour government have neither the stomach nor the backbone to tackle this problem. But the seriousness of the migrant population and the problem is now a serious national security problem, and the safety of our population is now at critical level. The government need now to put their personal race for re-election via the Muslim vote to one side and do something that seems to be totally alien to them. And that's by putting the well-being of our country and its people first. The people of our United Kingdom are at their very last nerve with the lies, the gaslighting, and the deflection when they're asked questions. We deserve transparency, accountability, and action. Action not for the benefit of the Labour government, Samara, which is what we've been witnessing so far, but for the benefit and the safety of our country and the British people.
They're frustrated. You can hear that in her voice. And I tell you what, some frustration can be felt again back in our area, just back to Dearborn. Once again, the city of Dearborn is being slammed for shielding the Muslim mosques from city ordinances, right? They're not supposed to be playing these call to prayers at 5:30 a.m. and they're talking to them about it. But
we have to go by first. The police is checking the decibel level. But I know what you're saying. Regardless of the decibel level, there's not supposed to be exterior speakers.
Right.
And that's what we have to look into.
They have to look into it. That's what he keeps saying.
So
you can just look at the building and see them.
I know. You asked us last time and we requested that because we asked if there was any permits and there was no permits of record for those installations. So we have to find out. People sometimes take into their own hand of doing something, and we have to then, react to it. So that's what you're bringing forward to us, and we will definitely look into it.
So when I come in 2 weeks, you'll tell me the same thing.
Ms. Unger, I think that's extremely unfair.
This has been 2 years.
Ms. Unger, I know, but we have to.
It's been 2 years. So in 2 weeks, he's going to say the same thing. You're going to look into the speakers. 2 years. Still not looking. And they'll continue to wear down the people over and over and over again. Talking about the White House, comms that have been put out there and more, and they actually put out a trolling the Democrats by adding the major events timeline on the official website of the White House. In that, they have cocaine discovered, image of Hunter Biden. They have Trans Day of Visibility with Biden on it. Yeah, I'm going to show you this. If you go on to your phone, you can scroll left and right, and they start out with the 1791 to 1800 design plans commence. Then the rebuilding after War of 1812. Then you scroll across, it says the addition of South Portico, the addition of North Portico. So basically they're showing the history of all this, construction, since they're so upset that President Trump's doing construction there. Addition of the West Wing, addition of the Oval Office, addition of the Rose Garden, addition of the East Wing, total reconstruction, addition of the briefing room. So they're just showing over and over. Oh, the Bill Clinton scandal, they put that in the White House timeline. Yeah. Muslim Brotherhood visit. We just got done talking about that with Obama. How many times was Obama brought up, folks, in one day? One day from the administration. Then you got the tennis pavilion was put in, and then you got the cocaine discovered by Biden's son, Trans Day of Visibility, North and South flagpoles, Rose Garden renovations, Oval Office renovations, East Wing renovations. So yeah, hey guys, go to our website, check it out. We're going to show you all of our renovations. And while they're scrolling through, they're like, oh no, ouch. Oh, don't show us the truth. We can't handle it. Don't tell us that Obama had the Muslim Brotherhood visit. No, don't show us pictures of him. What kind of picture is that? Do you guys remember? What was he holding in his hand? Do you remember? Oh boy. The Ronald Reagan Foundation announced that Canada has fraudulently used an advertisement, which is fake, featuring Ronald Reagan speaking negatively about tariffs. The ad was for $75 million. They only did this to interfere with the decision of the U.S. Supreme Court and other courts. Tariffs are very important to the national security and economy of the USA. Based on their egregious behavior, Canada, all trade negotiations with Canada are hereby terminated. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President DJT. Of course, Ripcord caught this. Dan Scavino posted the Trump truth about Canada with Ronald Reagan's speech on propaganda at 1240. It just so happens on the 1240 drop, there's a link to Ronald Reagan, President Reagan, called We Must Fight. You think that's a coincidence? Just happened to be dropped at 1240. Could have been 1239, couldn't be 1241, 1240, and we have a link to Ronald Reagan as he's talking about Ronald Reagan. And folks still think there's nothing going on. You know, we've got a great video coming out tomorrow before we close in prayer of gold bull market. It's almost a decade left based on history. So folks are watching the fluctuation of gold and silver. We talked about it. We've got a video coming out tomorrow. I'm going to show you just a really quick clip from that particular video that's coming out. And I tell you, I'm just overwhelmed.
The whole shebang. He's just really good. Well, he's also saying, is this it for the metals markets? You know, is this it? Did we hit our peak and we're now going to come down? His answer is absolutely not.
Absolutely not. You don't want to miss this, folks. And you can reach out to Dr. Kirk Elliott at amweknow.com/gold in the description box below this video. And you're going to be overwhelmed and excited how they support you with prayer and so much more. I'm also watching, as we've been talking about the children. Watch this.
Of the state's multi-agency child recovery operation called Shine the Light, 10 children between the ages of 13 and 18 were found, and authorities also made several arrests of adults. The operation was conducted over the weekend with the help of HPD, the FBI, U.S. Marshals, Secret Service, the military, and others. It's aimed at finding missing children listed as runaways across Oahu and providing them with essential services and care.
Do proactively run these operations to protect our children.
10 missing children found alive in Hawaii. They're rescuing the children. They're exposing what was happening with the children coming across the border, the women who were pregnant. Remember, we showed you that earlier, and so much more. And we have to remember this whole operation playing out to expose all the key players. It's been coming together in a very concise and perfect way. We have to remember there's a risk in painting this picture. And we're told the sum of all fears.
For nothing is secret that shall not be made manifest, neither anything hid that shall not be known and come abroad.
Let's pray. Heavenly Father, again, we come before you, your throne, in awe of you and how you continue to amaze us by the leaders that you put together for such a time as this, to destroy an enemy who has had a foothold for several hundred years now, trying to do all that they can to destroy humanity. And we are watching in complete awe of the operation playing out before us to not only destroy them, but wake many people up to this evil. And we're realizing even more so the people are starting to look at good versus evil, and they see even more so how important it is to read your word and to watch the battles that have been placed in front of us throughout that entire love letter you gave to us, the Bible. So we ask for continued direction in our own lives, how we handle and talk to our neighbors and our friends, our family members. To guide and direct us in these struggles that we have and understanding all that's going on. We don't get it all, but we know that a plan was put together by many courageous warriors to go around this evil propaganda machine that was put out. And it reached us, and we've got it. We ask for continued support in that area for those people. Please continue to, we ask in the name of Jesus Christ to protect President Trump and his entire family, all those that are in harm's way, especially as this continues to percolate. We can see more and more of the damage that's being done in these major cities as all of this evil is being removed one day at a time. We bring this all before your throne in the name of Jesus Christ, your Son. Amen and amen. Folks, thank you so much for tuning in. If you made it this far, we're your love for them. They've been so special to us in this journey together. Okay? For now, this is LT, Semper Fi, with them we know, signing out.
Let me tell you, Barack Hussein Obama was a lousy president. A lot of bad things happened. Remember when they used to talk about Trump with the jail cells? Well, he built the jail cells for the children. He built those jail cells. Remember that came out? But sir, they were built in 2014. You remember when that came out? After me going through that stuff for about 2 weeks, and then they found out it was Barack Obama that built those jail cells.
The most insidious was providing intelligence to the Mexican law enforcement that led to the arrest of a CJNG cartel-affiliated baby trafficker called La Diabla.
Well, I don't think we're going to necessarily ask for a declaration of war. I think we're just going to kill people that are bringing drugs into our country. Okay? We're going to kill them. You know, they're going to be like dead. Okay?